Remember that tummy time can be done in so many different ways. So I think traditionally we think, oh, it has to be on a flat surface, but tummy time can be done on your chest when you're awake. It can be done over your leg, so you can put the baby over your leg a little bit and so that they're propped up a little bit. It can be done over a rolled up towel. There's so many different ways to do tummy time. So just because they're not doing it on a flat surface, it's okay. Now, if your baby hates tummy time, my advice is to give them some practice and remember that it is okay. They are learning a new skill, so they may not love it right away. What I did with Ryan, which we really loved, is I would get down on his level. I would lay down on my belly, do tummy time right next to him. I would talk to him, I would sing to him, so we were eye to eye. Another idea is putting a mirror or some toys at the eye level of the baby while they're on tummy time so that they can get more excited, more interested, and that they're not just doing it solo. So those are some tips to help if your baby does not like tummy time. Some signs of teething will include hands in the mouth, especially at the gum line where the teeth is coming in. You're going to start to see that they'll have a lot more drooling than normal, so your baby may be a drooler, but more so than their baseline. If you look inside the mouth, the gum line may look a little bit red or swollen, and they may start to rub their ears or rub their cheek a little bit more. Fussiness is also associated with teething, but babies can be fussy for other reasons, so not all fussiness is teeth. Now, some things that I like to do for teething: cold objects. Remember, cold objects are the best. It soothes the gums, it soothes that irritation. I like to roll up a washcloth, get it a little bit wet and store it in the freezer and allow the baby to gnaw on it. You can use teething rings that you put in the freezer. Just make sure it's not so hard because you want there to be a little bit of give. These are all great things. A pacifier that you wet a little bit and put in the freezer. Cold objects, teething toys are the best things to do for teething. Your baby can start to get water after 6 months. The reason we use 6 months as the rule is that their kidneys are more fully formed. Obviously, we're putting water in formula before that, but we just don't want babies' primary fluid nutrition to be water. We want it still to be breast milk and formula for quite some time. So water is an adjunct. So basically, after 6 months, when you start to do meal times, I encourage you to do water with the meals. Keep it about 4 ounces initially max at a meal because you don't want them to fill up on water, but you can start to incorporate water. Remember though that breast milk and formula is their primary fluid intake, so you don't want to be overdoing the water, but I love having them practice water. You can practice with an open cup, eventually a straw cup, and water is easy because it's less of a mess. And in terms of amount, remember that it's just an adjunct to breast milk and formula, so there really is no minimum intake. Just make sure that you incorporate it with obviously their meals and also with breast milk and formula. I think baby-led weaning is great. When done properly and cutting the food and preparing the food in the proper way, it actually has no greater risk of choking. I actually did baby-led weaning for my son. We did purees actually from 4.5 months to about 6.5 months, and then we switched to baby-led weaning. I really like it. I actually talk a lot about it on my Instagram page and on my podcast as well. That being said, I do think that you can create a good eater if you do purees also. The philosophy becomes how you approach feeding, which means not forcing them, not trying to shove food in their face when they don't want it, and reading their cues. So if you are spoon feeding a baby and you bring the spoon to their mouth and they do this, I don't want you to keep forcing them. You can try a little bit, but if they keep pushing you away, that means that they're full, that means that they're not hungry. The beauty about baby-led weaning is that they're leading the show. They are self-feeding completely and they will stop when they're done. But a good eater can be created either way. So I have so much more COVID content on my Instagram and my podcast, so make sure you follow me there and listen to my podcast if you want more. But I generally do support the vaccine in pregnant women as well as in women who are breastfeeding. And a lot of this comes down to just understanding how this vaccine works. Even though there have not been pregnant or lactating women in the current research studies, they are now studying it more and more in these women. But when we look at the vaccine safety, we're looking at, hey, is there anything about this vaccine that would concern us in pregnant women or lactating women? And the answer is no. So the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology also supports the vaccine in pregnant and lactating women, and as do I, as do a lot of pediatricians and OB-GYNs. So it is really up to you to discuss this with your OB-GYN, with your pediatrician, to decide what's best for you, your risk for COVID, your risk for complications. But if you do decide to get the vaccine, I want you to feel fully supported in your decision. But make sure you follow me on my Instagram and podcast for more.